Hello and welcome to my first attempt at a Football Manager YouTube video. I'm Charlie and this series is centred around AFC Fylde, entitled Still We Rise. Now, before we begin, I just want to say that the series has two purposes behind it. Firstly, to play a bit of Football Manager, the game that we all know and love. And secondly, for me to learn about this YouTube stuff. Don't expect the finished article or even anything mildly entertaining to begin with. The intention is to learn some editing techniques, play the game, and become comfortable with this microphone in front of my face. And I should probably begin with introducing myself. My name is Charlie, and sort of like everybody else that I've been reading about, I've been playing Championship Manager / Football Manager for some 20 years. I started off on CM 97-98, and then from there progressed the famous 01-02. But then had a bit of a break, came back with Football Manager 2017, whichever the green one was. Didn't really progress on to FM08. That put me off for a number of years. And then I started again with Football Manager 2015. So as you can imagine, the whole world had changed by then. But the reason I got back into it was because I became assistant researcher for Sports Interactive, looking at AFC Fylde, which are one of my local teams here in Lancashire, bathed in sun as it is this week. At the same time, I started writing for the Higher Tempo Press under romantic novelist Chris Darwin, which became Ronnie Dog Media, FM Daily, and then I started A-League FC, a website based on an unhealthy obsession with the professional league over there in Australia and New Zealand. We also write about MLS and increasingly women's football. Not an advert for that site. Alongside writing about that gritty alternative known as real life, I've had the chance to write up some projects on Football Manager with Newcastle Jets, Minnesota United, and more recently I was hounded out of Melbourne for losing an A-League Championship semi-final with Melbourne Victory to rival Sydney FC. That was just a few weeks ago, so I have returned to Lancashire with my tail firmly tucked between my legs. And here we are at Mill Farm. I should probably go through some specs on the game I'm using. We're on the 20.4.0 database, which we can see somewhere. Game status. We've got England down to Vanarama National North and South, and then Scotland down to Ladbrokes League 2. First transfer window budgets are disabled. I always do that. Just the hardcore player in me. Key staff weren't added, and the editor is switched off, if I have that. In terms of the skin, I'm using Renzi skin. I always use that one. It's my favourite. There may be a badge pack and a face pack uploaded as well, which is killing my laptop. And if you hear it whirring in the background like a helicopter about to take off, that's why. The goal is to do what AFC Fylde chairman David Haythornthwaite, more on him later, is desperate to achieve, and that's league football at Mill Farm. Basically, getting promotion out of the National League, which they came so close to last season. I've replaced Big Jim Bentley, who technically hasn't started yet at AFC Fylde because he joined mid-season. I would imagine he's got quite strong feelings about that, especially because, as you can see, I have no qualifications and a Sunday League reputation, which is thanks to my time spent playing for Leyland Albion in the late 90s. I'm totally using that to my advantage. Now, for the rest of this episode, which is going to be quite a short one to start with, we'll have a look at the club and the backroom staff before we meet the players next time. So, the club, AFC Fylde. Here we are. The club were founded in 1988 as Kirkham and Wesham. They then became AFC Fylde in 2008 after winning the FA Vase. 2008. They are the only club to win both the FA Vase and FA Trophy, which is something that the chairman, David Haythornthwaite, controversial figure, is very proud of. Last season, Fylde lost to Salford City in the playoff final, Salford, of course, being backed by the class of 1992. A week later, they returned to Wembley to win the FA Trophy in the final against Leyton Orient, thanks to a Danny Rowe free kick. They've been at Mill Farm, which is a new ground that only opened in 2016, and if you haven't been, it is quite a nice non-league ground. Our predicted finish is third. Let's gloss over that for a second. The expectations to reach the playoffs, which is about right for a club that have been in the playoffs twice in the last 2 years. Lost to Boreham Wood the season before, and then last season, obviously, playoff final. FA Cup is to reach the first round, and assuming that the fourth qualifying round is the one before that, that just means we just got to win one game, hopefully against opposition lower down, and we don't need to worry about it. And in the FA Trophy, as holders, we need to reach the semi-final as a minimum expectation. That's going to be more difficult this year. The reason this series is actually entitled Still We Rise is because of this little graph down here. I don't know any club who has had such a consistent rise to the top of non-league football. If you do know of any other club, put it in the comments and let me know. In all this time since 2009, 2010, they've only had one misstep, and that was here when they finished third in the National League North from second, and the following season came first. Impressive stuff, despite what obviously is a lot of people accusing the club of financially having an advantage. You still got to do it on the pitch, and as you can see, they have been. And now the staff. Before we do that, average academy coaching, fairly basic youth recruitment. Yeah. It's actually known as the Coasters. They are, and retain a fierce rivalry with Chorley. There's also Stockport in there as well. Staff. The chairman is David Haythornthwaite. Now, if you are a fan of non-league football, you probably will have heard of him. He's quite outspoken. If you haven't heard of him, check out the AFC Fylde YouTube page, because they're doing a series at the moment about what the club is like to run during the coronavirus crisis. It's quite insightful mostly into his personality, but there are other people around the club that are featured in that as well. John T. Castle is a new arrival. He has come from Wigan in the last few months. I can't remember the chap he replaced. He is chief executive, and I don't think I've met him yet. Di Davis is, he brought David Haythornthwaite into the club to start with, so he is a long-term benefactor. I am the manager, Charlie Tango, and I am on less wage than Kenny McKenna is my assistant. That can't be right, can it? He's got a longer contract than me, and more money. It's not brilliant, is it? Kenny McKenna is a Scouser, and met him as well. Really nice guy. Very combative on the touchline. He tends to do this thing where he sits on the box for the water, and you just occasionally see just his arms shoot in the air when he wants to make a point. Old school. How old is Kenny McKenna? 58 years old. So he was previously with Jim Bentley at Morecambe. As you can see, assistant manager, 8 years. Prior to that, he was manager of Altrincham. Assistant manager, chief scout. The New Saints? The New Saints. And they did win a lot while he was there, didn't he? Well done, Kenny. Goalkeeping coach is Lee Jones. Now, if you're a fan of clubs in the Northwest, chances are he was at some point affiliated with your club, because I think he moved around quite a lot. Yeah. So I remember him first at Stockport and then Blackpool, but following that he had spent time at Bury, Darlington and Nantwich. Very proud Welshman. He has a very thick Welsh accent. Jake Simpson is a new fitness coach this season. He's currently on a month-to-month deal, but we'll probably look to increase that, to be honest. Ian Hall, chief doctor. The chief doctor at Fylde is Mr. Waring, I think. Then we've got head physio Sean Riley, chief scout Alex Hay, and the scout Dan Bent. I think those were left over from Dave Challoner's reign. The ratings are fairly average. 8th in the league, 9th in the league. Defending 18th? No, sorry. Defending 24th. That's awful. 8th again. However, recruitment, we're up near the top. We're second over there. Medical, middle. Again, it's not brilliant, but it's not a massive problem. And given the fact that we have, this is not a screen I'm going to use a lot of, 1k per week in wages, I'm not going to drop it on staff. I don't think we need more staff until we get to the Football League, at which point we'll need a massive upgrade, and don't expect any of those staff that are currently with us to continue on. And so, that is all we're going to look at today. This is just a bit of an introduction into AFC Fylde and the club itself. In terms of vision, within the wage budget, yeah. Wage players, we've done that. What are the future plans? Work towards gaining Sky Bet League 2. Win promotion to Sky Bet League 2 at the end of the 21-22 season and remain in there 22-23. Now, the thing about this is that AFC Fylde are often beaten over the head with a stick because They want to establish league football by 2022, which is going to be the end of this season. And it's currently why there's so much furore around the club, who are in the relegation zone in the National League, and they're trying to avoid dropping into the National League North, which will require another season to then get promoted back up again to add the tilt at the Football League. I was reading an article this week where the chairman has talked about he voted for no playoffs for the entire National League structure, which would mean the Fylde should be safe. But the key bit of information that I was reading about was that the majority of the other clubs are on the same thinking. So that might save us. And therefore, we have the chance of getting promotion into League 2, joining Salford City, who of course went up last year in the playoffs. One thing I do want to look at, which is always fun, is the season preview. Where are we? So, media prediction is 5th. That's interesting. Notts County, Even Scorp, Yeovil, Barnet. So those three have got big league pedigree. And then there's Barrow, who are the runaway leaders this year. Not runaway leaders, but leaders. And then there's us. I'm going to guess without looking, Chorley are bottom. Oh, they're not, but they're not far off. Eastleigh. I quite like Eastleigh when they came to Mill Farm. They weren't that bad. Definitely not 175 to 1 bad. But the likes of Chorley, Stockport, and Woking are down there as well. Woking have got Dave Tarpey. Have they got Dave Tarpey? I recognise the kit. They have got Dave Tarpey. He is a very good non-league player. And somebody, if he became available, contract expire 2020, I would be looking at to come in for us. I think he could do a job in League 2. But that's based on me actually having seen him play, not how good he is in this game, which may be a slightly different proposition. So, we're going to leave things there for now. Dave Challoner is, of course, now at Hartlepool. Yeah. Where at Hartlepool? Expected to finish 7th, above Harrogate. That's all for today. Join us next time for when we have a good look at the squad. We'll get stuck into the players, and I think we're going to have to put together some tactics, aren't we? That'll be interesting. Thank you for watching, especially if you've made it this far in my first YouTube Football Manager video attempt. I'll see you next time.